Good morning, it's June 3rd, and this is To My Liberal Friends. I was in the Army when Watergate hearings were being held. I didn't pay much attention to them at the time because I was stationed in Germany, but we were a bit removed from the news. But when everything broke about what the Nixon campaign had been doing during the 1972 election, it became important even to us that were overseas. Well, fast forward to the 2020 election, as a nation we were combating the COVID pandemic. This created a unique method of campaigning, and Joe Biden basically stayed at home and allowed the campaign to be done by surrogates and videos from his office. He was not out on the campaign trail, and this strategy seemed to have prevailed enough for him to win a close election. As we look back at the last three elections we've held for the presidency, I'm convinced that people were voting in the negative rather than the positive. By that I mean in 2016, people were voting against Hillary Clinton more than they were voting for Donald Trump. I've always said the two most surprised people that night were both Clinton and Trump. In 2020, it was reversed as Trump's negatives were high and Joe Biden, campaigning from his basement, looked like a better alternative, and so people voted against Trump more than they voted for Biden. In 2024, I believe this cycle was broken as the Democrats were floundering. Certainly there were people that don't like Trump, but Joe Biden had announced he would not run and Vice President Kamala Harris stepped in. In this election, the polling showed that even though she had high negatives, people came out to vote for and in support of Donald Trump. Now, we all saw a feeble Joe Biden when he debated Trump in June of 2024. The Biden team had seen the polls and the Biden was weakening, so they tried to make a daring gambit. Normally, presidential debates are conducted in the fall. After the convention, the nominees are formally nominated. But the Biden team needed to turn the tide and jumpstart their campaign, so they challenged Trump to debate much earlier. It was a risk, and in the end, was the beginning of the end for Joe Biden. Most experts have said it was the worst presidential debate performance in history, and despite Joe Biden cheering him on in the post-debate party, the handwriting was on the wall for everyone to see. So here we are in 2025, and the post-mortem analysis of the election and the Biden presidency are being written, and they're not being nice about it. We all see how CNN hosts Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson have tried to vindicate themselves for their own complicity in hiding Biden's true capabilities, but questions that are being asked is, who is really running the country? Reports are out that as early as 2021, Biden's first year in office, the schedule had to be adapted because he had good days and bad days. If that is true, then the real question is, who was running the country? Republicans are now suggesting that we should hold hearings on this question. Now, the last time we had a situation like this was in 1919, when Woodrow Wilson suffered a stroke while in office. Now, I should put out that Wilson had suffered several other strokes while he was at Princeton. But at that time, his wife, Edith, basically took over running the White House and the government. Just as Edith Wilson sought to cover up her husband's condition, it was much easier to do without the visual media we have today, it has become apparent that the inner circle around Joe Biden, along with his wife Jill, were also covering up his condition. Key names central to the cover-up, often referred to as the Politburo, have appeared in books and news articles. They include Jennifer O'Malley Dillon, the campaign manager, Mike Donilon, the advisor, wanted Mr. Biden to run because, quote, no one walks away from the house, the plane, and the helicopter. The White House Chief Counselor Steve Ricchetti, Chief of Staff Ron Klain, Deputy Chief of Staff Bruce Reed, another Deputy Chief, Ann Tomasini, Anthony Burnell, Joe Biden's Chief of Staff, Communications Aide T.J. Ducklow, and Andrew Bates, and Press Secretary Katrina Jean-Pierre, who spewed repeated lies affirming Mr. Biden's good health. Now the House Oversight Committee on Investigations plans to hold hearings on who actually making policy and who was taking documents to the auto pen. Now, I want to stop and say every politician uses the auto pen, but when you're signing bills and signing executive orders, that's supposed to be done by the actual person. And there's not a lot of actual proof how and when the auto pen was used. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence. The committee wants to know what the state of Biden's cognitive skills were. This will make good theater, but I highly doubt they're going to get any truthful answers. As much as the loyal staff members to Biden tried to cover up his deficiencies, it is the media that deserves most of the blame. They failed miserably in trying to ferret out the truth. The rumors about Biden's decline were rampant, and the incidents that the staff tried to brush away as fakes should have made them dig a little harder. But that would have meant harming Biden and helping Trump, when they all thought that Biden was going to run again. Their bias was laid out in front of everyone, and repeated denials, now that Biden is gone, are not going to absolve them from their dereliction of duty. Joe Scarborough at MSNBC would be the head of the class when it comes to defending Biden. He told us how he would talk to Biden late at night, and anyone that believed that should get in line to buy a bridge. Then you have to look at members of the Biden cabinet. How many times did they tell the public that Biden was on top of his game and fully in charge? We heard it from Pete Buttigieg numerous times. Then we learned that in fact they rarely talked to him, let alone saw him. But they were trotted out like good little soldiers and basically lied to the American people. The final culprit in this cover-up has to be Vice President Kamala Harris. We have to assume that she had a modicum of interaction with Biden, and if she could not discern his cognitive disability, then we all know why she never should have been elected last November. So I would say to Republicans in Congress, hold your hearings, make some people take an oath to tell the truth, and watch them lie when the truth will fit better. You're not going to get them to admit what they were doing. This has been To My Liberal Friends. Thanks for listening.